Thank you for joining us on our third session, still with estate planning. Welcome to Powerful Delta Oasis estate planning session. We continue. So, there are three components of estate planning. Number one, conservation. Number two, creation. You create an estate. And then number three, distribution. Of the three, which do you think is that which usually causes conflict among family members? Hmm, distribution. Distribution. Many times, speaking from experience, but yeah, that's true. Many times the issue boils down to this. The question is, who will get what? You know why? Many times when they do not plan their estate, they don't realize that in the absence of planning, the children becomes co-owners of everything that the parents own. Yeah, it's already thought of, anak tayo, we are children, so we're part of this. But hey, it's not the house, the cars, the business, the farm. In their minds and in their belief, they are co-owners, although not co-owners yet. Okay? Which means that one day they will have to come together and discuss and argue and try to answer the question, who will get what? And many times the answer comes at the expense of peace. Yes, the answer at times come from the court because they couldn't agree. And when that happens, and if you go to court, you will necessarily have to share your wealth with the lawyers. Okay. But in the meantime, it was about parents. Then the friends and the relatives would be watching and they would say, oh, they used to be close. They used to be so close when the parents were around. How come they are fighting now? Now, this is one time when you can say that inheritance can become a curse. Let's see. All right. So, what problems can arise when there is an inadequate or no planning at all of the estate? Strange relations happen a lot. You know, we have this teacher, Attorney Cabrera, Angelo Cabrera, shared about his father. Um, he got this from his father, and one of his father's quotable quotes is, blood is thicker than water, but money is thicker than blood. Number one, many times relatives forget about their blood relationships because of property and money. It can get so bad that real blood can be shed. Because of inheritance, blood is thicker than water and money is thicker than blood. You know, greed creeps in on the head. And that's why, of course, you don't want this to happen to you. And to guarantee that, you must engage in estate planning. Number two, shrinkage of estate, part of estate taxes. I'll show you later on. No? And number three, apart from shrinkage, number three now, failure to realize lifelong dreams of the estate planner or the estate owner. He has dreams. I buy this land. It's where my children will live. It's where everybody to my great grandchildren. Those are his plans. But sometimes he doesn't get there because of court cases. The problem of premature death. We'll learn something today. I'm going to give you a story of Abraham and Sarah in the Bible. You know, um, my wife, uh, we were in a prayer meeting, and the pastor somehow had the gift of knowledge. You read this verse. We read it in Romans. It was about Sarah and Abraham. Abraham, you know, they got the kids at 90, at the age of 90, and so that was a promise to us. They were promised a baby at 90 years old. You know? And for us, we are promised that when our parents are gone, we are promised with an estate, but promise not, and it did happen. Uh, anyway, problem of premature death. The reason why I asked our class many times, or I often ask, how many of you still have children at school? How many of you still have children studying, not yet college? Many times we do everything and anything to ensure the dreams of our children are realized. We would help them. We would do anything about them and uh, forget ourselves. But we know also in reality that death can strike anytime. There is dreams, but there's also death anytime, anywhere, anytime, anyone, to anyone, by the way. And when it strikes the breadwinner, the family, when it strikes the breadwinner, the family suffers, especially if the breadwinner still has a very young family. Apparently, the youth usually, they would think, the young usually, hey, I'm still young. The truth is, anything can happen. And sometimes it's not to our youth that is the barrier of the defense. Sometimes it's our success. Successful lawyer, successful businessman, successful architect, successful financial advisor. And we think that our success is the assurance that our family will be taken care of because we provide so many skills and knowledge on our own that aid us in the success, and our family, our children are actually relying on our skills and success, skills and knowledge. But here's the reality. When you are taken away, all those skills, all those knowledge are going to die with you. Again, all those skills, all those knowledge, discarte, are going to die with you. So what happens to the family that's relying on your skills, relying on your business, relying on your knowledge? That's quite a discomfort, right? And sometimes, like us as business people, you know, you have your business, I have my business to take care of my family in the future in case something happens. That's true. If you have a big business, even if, you know, and even that can be destroyed, it can be gone anytime. Do you know of a big business family it's in turmoil now, in turmoil now? You know, siblings are fighting. Some are favored. Some children are not favored. Some children were disinherited, but more so for a young business person like us. Usually, the business also dies with the main character, the main person, the main man, the main woman. Business dies with the death of the main person. What happens now to the children? What happens to their dogs? What happens to their businesses? They're too young. Oh, the children, they're too young to take over. The spouse doesn't even know how to do the business. So again, you will have people who are bound to suffer. You know, I heard of this story about this rich Filipino Chinese businessman back in the 1950s. He was already operating the most modern movie houses in Cebu, the first air-conditioned movie house in Manila. Back then, the movie was more than Netflix. It was a hit. He had 6 children, and they were enjoying the comfort of life. He had drivers to send his children to school, Alan limousine, no? In every crispy, shiny, nice cars. And then they were living the good life. And then one day he passed away, leaving behind six children. The eldest was 13, and the 13-year-old, the eldest boy, couldn't understand what ensued him, couldn't understand what happened after a glorious life, comfortable life. This thing happened to them. His father's business operated through loans, right? And creditors came. They lost their big house, of course, the cars. They had to stay in a small apartment unit, and they lost all their um, luxury, whatever lifestyle. No, he had to walk to school this time every day under the heat of the sun, and before he did so, he had to wake up so early in the morning in order to get the best spot in the market where he and his mother would sell goods to in the market, right? In order to sustain them, six children. No, they transferred to a smaller house. His mother sent his siblings back to China, and he was only 13, the eldest. He had to send money to his siblings, send money, earn, send money to China. Now imagine yourself as 13-year-old. Imagine yourself as that 13 years old guy. And then all of a sudden, from life of luxury to a life of a barely, very bare existence. That's what happened. True story. What if that happened to us? What can we do? His father had so much work and got it big in business, but he had so much obligation. Since the creditors started calling the loan, it left them virtually nothing. But the good news is, this became an inspiring story of success in the Philippines. God sent this as a lesson for all of us to prepare. You know, this guy, the 13-year-old, persevered, worked hard. He eventually became a very successful man. That's the story of John Gokongwei. And every time he was invited to speak in commencement exercises or conventions, he never failed to share, never failed to mention that segment in his life. When he lost everything on account of an early death of his father, he never fails to mention that segment in his life, and he lost everything on account of an early death of a father. You see, when he lost his father, he did not only lose a dad, he lost their house, he lost the cars, he eventually missed his siblings sent back to to China. He lost his childhood. Remember, he had to work so early, but thankfully, it became a blessing for him. Now, here's the thing: as inspiring as the story might be, there's yet one lesson that we can get from the story. A lesson related to our topic of estate planning. It is this: the estate planning is not only about protecting your wealth when you shall have built one. Kung mayroon ka na, if you have one already, it is also about protecting your family while building your own wealth. And you cannot be so focused on building wealth to protect your family because you're in your business. And that's why, to me, basic in any planning is to put a safety net of your future, for your future, whether it's investment planning, educational planning, estate planning, you need to put up a safety net, a net that will ensure that the family will be taken care of regardless of any circumstances. A safety net that will ensure that they will stay in the standard of living that they've been accustomed to rather than to drop drastically to a much lower standard of living. And as you know, the safety net can simply be an insurance life insurance policy. Yeah, it's like you create an estate for any circumstances. And I firmly believe, I'm a believer in life insurance as a necessary um, component of every plan. That's foundational. That's the safety net. And that's why it is our duty as financial advisors to address that particular issue of the foremost is the setting up of the safety net for each family. Number one, some common advantage solutions, your business connections. It will not be a good solution. Why? Ah, okay lang, I will live. Ang dami kong connection. If I'm gone, connection who will be there? People. Why? It's not a good solution because your connections are good only when you're still around. It will cease to exist only once you don't exist anymore. For something as important as your wealth, your family, you cannot rely on flimsy relationships that can dissipate at the moment you kick to the bottom. You hit the bottom, isn't it? Talk to a seasoned financial advisor. Create something for a safety. Number two, you say, oh, I started transferring my properties to the names of my children. Again, you lose control when you transfer properties. It doesn't make sense when being a hero, you hero up. And then there are horror stories like the game of love, you lose control. A promise of love, you lose control. It's better to hold control until your last breath. Number three, this is a long discussion, but I will encapsulate it. Incorporated properties. Incorporating properties, many have the tendency to do this. The problem with incorporation is putting them into a co-ownership regime. Is incorporation. The name of the property is it's under its shareholders. Effectively, co-ownership is no different from ownership of your wealth while you're still alive. When you share it, they're already a part of you, a part owner of your wealth. No, it's like you put them into a boxing arena. Why? And in a big boxing arena, you might have money in, you might have money out. There's a dominating boxer in the arena. The dominating the air with the loudest voice, with an overbearing personality. And that's the bully in the family who would use every means to control and to dominate. Do you know of someone? You know, this is what I thought in a client's forum in in an audience. I tell them honestly, you know, your children, you know, who among them has the tendency to bully. And if you don't do anything to plan now, it only means that you're going to give that child the license to do what he wants when the night goes off or when you go lights off from the world. And that is what you need to do. Have an estate planned for you. Okay? Um, Contact us at www.pdoasis.org because there are three components in estate planning. Now, what is that again? The three main uh, components of estate planning. You conserve your estate, you creation of estate, and then distribution. And we can talk a lot about distribution and how to avoid negative outcomes. Okay, thank you for watching.